Welcome back, ladies and germs. Hopefully you're ready to nerd out a little bit on this video. I think I'm actually kind of excited to do this video because, surprise, I actually went testing last night. And I fail so bad at the track to take video. I just seriously get wrapped up in trying to keep tunes and trying to just figure stuff out. And I've been away from the track for so long. Even the last race I was at, whatever, a couple months back, I haven't been doing a lot of like digging into software and stuff short of when I'm at the track. So the last race that I ran, I went a couple rounds, but that was a fresh motor, no data. We just kind of winged it, and everything went okay. But I lost the data logs from that night. It was only 3 passes, but I came back to the garage and was working on some like cold startup tuning and just throttle response stuff. And without thinking, I cleared the data logger, and that's when it dawned on me I never pulled the logs out from that event. So we've been kind of just in the middle of not really sure how it actually ran, because I didn't look at the logs while I was at the track, because we're in the middle of an event. I just wanted to leave it alone. I wasn't going to go start making changes between rounds. It just needed, after the first round and it went down the track, I was leaving it alone. The event runs fast. I wasn't going to get all wrapped up in staring at a data log, worrying about stuff I'm not going to change anyways. It was working pretty good, left it alone. So now, this brings us to last night. It was a good night. It had been very hot during the day, and I wasted a little bit of time after work. I had a couple buddies run down to the track with me. They met me at my place, so we just were killing time here, and I thought maybe about, just taking my time loading up and not over-stressing about this stuff and getting all worked up. And then maybe give the sun a little chance to get down a little bit and cool off, because it was hot. It was pushing 90 degrees yesterday or whatever, and I hope it's not loud in here right now, because I got a fan going over there, and I got one on the wall over there. My garage door is closed, and it's like middle of the day on Saturday. It's 95 frickin' degrees outside, and it's like 102 degrees real feel. It's humid, but my garage is still cold because last night when I unloaded the bikes, I had the door open. I'm getting some cool night air in, so that's still kind of trapped in my garage right now. So it's not heated or air conditioned out here, but it's insulated pretty good, and it'll hold temperature pretty good. So I just got the fans moving some air around, and I hope that's not loud and gonna annoy you right now. But just been a hot few days here, so that's why we're not at the track today. It's a test and tune weekend. I am not putting leathers on in 100-degree weather. Last night was a struggle enough. I can barely get them fuckers off me when it's cool out, let alone when I'm hot. So anyways, yeah, it was a really good night, and I made 5 passes in a matter of like I'll show you the times on the time slips. I'm not going to pretend to do quick math here. It was like 3.5 hours or something that we are from first pass to last pass or something. But I'm going to break down. I do have footage of every pass last night from the going up on the 2-step, the 60-foot, and then out a little ways. A buddy of mine was filming for me. So some of them have the full pass down track. But I was having, well, I won't say issues, but I found some problems, some things I need to work on, because like I said, this is a new motor, or fresh motor, and a few things are different from what I was running last year. And getting back into the swing of things, of actually reading data and looking at data, the bike told me some stuff last night, and that's what I'm kind of excited to show you. What I had tried, what I learned, and also if you've watched my last video talking about my clutch, how I've made this clutch work, you'll be able to see a little more about how my bike leaves. It's not violent, but it's just consistently smooth. And last night, the first pass I made, I won't lie, was like a 1.4 60-foot. That's not great. But also the track is trying that new VP traction compound that's out right now. They weren't really prepping the track. It was just a average Friday night. And I didn't even go up and walk the starting line, so I had no data on how this thing was even going to act. So the first video I'll show you that you'll see here will be my softest tune-up. It's leaving on 5 PSI at 8,000 RPM, and it was a fucking dud. It still went like 520 in the 8th, I think. It was like a 7 90 something pass. I'll show you the slips. I'm not going to hold nothing back on this one because I think be able to see how the bike actually works, what it's doing, what I'm correcting, and actually just showing you what it runs, I think that'll be kind of fun. Actually, I was running clocks on last night, so I'm not doing this fucking clocks off wannabe, Illinois grudge guy thing. So, yeah, that first pass was a dud, but I'll show you. There's something that it was in the tune-up in my, actually all of my tune-ups had this in there, and it's gonna go way back to last year. From the last time I raced the bike last year when I hurt the motor, I was trying something in the tune to correct for the shock that wasn't working, for the bad linkage setup they had. The thing was not acting right. I was doing something with power, but I had forgotten about it, and I'll explain that. But now I'm just going to show you the time slips so you can see the dates, the times. So we're talking about last night, so everything's current. We're all up front. To be honest with you guys, we're in the trust garage, I guess, the trust shop, whatever. Yeah, and then I'm going to show you in the laptop a few things, and this could get very monotonous, and a lot of you guys might tune out and not be interested in any of this, but this is the stuff I geek out about, is finding things on the software and finding ways to make the bike respond. And speaking of responding, we'll get into another thing quick here. The shock, like this whole deal between the shock and the motor is all pretty fresh this year. I got, like I said, 3 passes on this before last night, and no real data from them passes. So last night I got some real good feedback on the shock, and we made some changes, a couple little ones, and it responded and it liked it. So I was freaking stoked to actually I finally got good video and good data for the shock, and it's working. That's awesome. But we're gonna get into tune things right now. So I'm gonna show you the time slips quick. So here's what we're looking at quick. So I was wrong. I said 3.5 hours. I think we were probably at the track for probably 3.5 hours, but it only took me 2.5 hours to make these 5 passes. So from 7:30 till roughly 10 o'clock was my last pass. So you figure 7:30, 8:30 is an hour, 8:30 to 1:30 is an hour, 8:30 to 9:30 is an hour, and then 10 o'clock. So 2.5 hours. And it looks like I was waiting, with a half hour there, maybe a half hour-ish there. And then this was a little bit longer. We were actually just BSing in the pits, so that's why there's a longer time there. But yeah, I was making a pass about every half hour or so. But we'll explain these. I'll break them down, video and slip, and then we'll show some data. Okay, so this is I have my camera here set up in a very awkward situation going on here. But I have my maps. I have 3 maps that I've been kind of working with here, and just so you can tell, if you can see this on your TV, if you got to watch this on a big screen or something, I don't know. But I have my maps all labeled. I know it says Alco TBF 1 low. So this is my alcohol map, so it's not to get confused with any of my gas maps, which I actually should just start deleting. I got a couple that I know will work, and that's about all I need. But so it's alcohol. TBF is time-based features, so I know my time-based features are active on this, and it's my map number 1 for boost, and it's low power. So that was the first pass I made last night, and I'll put that video in, and I'll try to maybe do like a little voiceover or something on the video. You can see what I'm seeing. But so this is the first pass, and you can hear how it's leaving on low boost. But watch how fast the tail drops, and then you can hear how long first gear pulls out. It's just not making any power after it had pulled timing at the hit. This is where I was talking about. That first pass I made was only a 1.43 60 foot. It was horrific, but it was off the trailer, low boost, and I'll show you why it was so soggy. But here's the slip. So again, nothing spectacular all the way down. This is a pretty, just get down the track kind of tune up. No scramble button, nothing like that. Just, there's the date. My first pass, 7:30. There's the slip. So we got 520 in the 8th, 147, 794, 172. Mile an hour is down kind of all the way across. At 330 and 60 foot are just horrific. That's the word I was trying to get out. But what we'll do here is I have these data logs saved So I'm going to show you what that pass looked like on the data log. We'll open that up quick. So I got them saved right here. So this tune-up is actually called, so I got it dated last night, 8/5 right here. 8/5/22, first pass, tune 1 with launch retard. This is what I'm going to show you where I was, struggling a little bit, that I had active something that shouldn't have been. So it actually, if you look up here, right here, the TPS, actually got out of the throttle. It was in first gear for so long, I thought something was wrong. I actually started backing out of the throttle, and then it actually it came around, and actually, it started going okay after that. But then look at this 6th gear here. It just nosed over. But watch this. That was my drive shaft RPM. So I'm going to go through kind of a lot here, kind of quick. But this is kind of how I got to go through it at the track, too. I got to just look for shit that's not right with what it's doing. So these lines here is my O2 target and the actual O2 closed loop. So what it's actually running at. So those follow each other pretty good through there. But then all of a sudden, what's happening down here? My O2 down here after about 5th gear, something's not right down in this part of the tune. And you can see the RPMs start just getting kind of shaky. I could feel the bike actually starting to surge, and I just kind of rolled out of the throttle. So we have 1st gear, 2nd gear, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th at the end. And I honestly was just, I was banging gears trying to get the bike to just smooth out and get down the track. And at that point, it started surging real bad down here, and I just got out of it. What actually is going on is, I hope the stuff you can see, because I'm trying to do this on a pretty shaky setup. So my cursor's over here. You see that line moving around. So you see as we'll just look at 6th gear, because that's where it starts getting really out of whack. My O2 target over here is 4.4. Now this is alcohol scale. And the closed loop, it was actually reading 5.1 all the way down to the point of going into, it's getting almost up to 5.8. So it was pushing 6.0. The bike was going lean, but it wasn't maintaining the target. And then if you look here, my O2 correction was maxed out at 25%. I have my O2 tolerances, I'll show you. So just so you get an idea of what this bike is doing at the hit, I'll just explain a few more things on my low power map here. We're leaving at 5 psi right here. That's my boost running along here. This is the blue area that's kind of tinted blue. That's on the 2-step. So we're leaving at, right there is 4.9 pounds of boost. And then I throw the clutch away. It jumps up to about 7 pounds. It holds it. And then it's starting to climb. And I only get a max of just about 16 pounds through this area. So that's my target on my low pound, or my low boost map. 16 pounds. And you see how long it's holding that boost? It holds, before it even starts to climb, it's holding, that's 7 pounds right there for 1.5 seconds. So that's where I'm trying to get through the 60 foot, and then I want to kind of add boost just a little bit, make my shift, and then jam the boost into it. It's a low boost deal, so that sounds more violent than it really is on this actual tune. But we will go check another thing out real quick here. Let's look at our ignition timing. So this is the timing all the way down track. And you can see there's a lot of stuff going on at the top of the gears. That's actually traction control. It's getting into traction control, and it's pulling timing real quick. But what we want to look at is this right here. I'm dumping the clutch in this area that I'm kind of running the cursor around. Look at my timing. It goes from 20 degrees to 10. Holds 10 degrees and then starts climbing out. I will show you why it's doing that. So let's get back into my actual map. And let's go look at my time-based compensations. So if you have a Fueltech and you're not playing with time-based compensations and you're having trouble getting down track, I'm talking and not looking here. Where did my setting go here? Time-based compensations right here. So if you're got a Fueltech and you're not monkeying around with some of this a little bit, you're missing out on some good features. So what this is basically how I'm controlling the launch on the bike with timing. And we'll turn off the boost curve so it's not in the way. Oh, right here, view. Click that off. So we got some settings going on here. One of them that's not visible right now because I already deactivated on that is time-based. Oh, come on now. Time-based ignition, advance, and retard. Right there. So you saw these dots all jump up here. So this is what I was doing at the end of last year when I couldn't get my shock to work and it was just knocking the tire off. What I was doing is, if you look down here, I was pulling timing at the hit, right at 0 seconds. So as soon as I got a validated launch, it was pulling 8 degrees of timing, 8 degrees of timing for an entire 1.5 seconds into the pass. Then at 1 3/4, we added 2 degrees back into it. At 2 seconds, we added another 2 degrees. So 2 seconds into the run, it's still 4 degrees low on timing from the base timing of that map. So that's why, I'll show you in the video, that's why that bike left so freaking lazy and was in first gear for so long, is it had basically no power in it. And no power on top of low boost, so it was just a dud. So that is actually not active right now, so we'll turn that back off. That's not actually active on the current map in the bike right now. So I made that first pass on this map. I saw what it did and got a feel for what the track was going to do. So I made that change. I turned that off and left this map alone. And we actually, after that pass, we went instantly right to my medium power tune-up, and then that's the one we worked on for the rest of the night. But what I didn't catch on this was why it felt so lazy, and it was also going lean at the end of the track. So I didn't catch that lean deal happening until, I want to say, like my 3rd or 4th pass, and that's a big major no bad on my part. I should have, like I said, part of being out of the loop with doing this stuff for an extended period of time, I just wasn't in the rhythm with checking things I normally check. So we'll go back and look at that. Oops, I just clicked it off. There we go. We'll go back and look at that data log. So this didn't catch me. You can see that this pink line here, I'll highlight it on and off so you can see it. So this pink line down here, that's my target air fuel. You can see it should maintain that target all the way down, and it wasn't. There's where it wandered off and went lean. And that is because my correction limit is 25%. So what that's telling me is, at this point in the map, at that, that boost level, that RPM, that whatever in that map, my map is basically junk. This 25% correction, that was a huge window for this tune-up last year on the old motor. I would only have like a 7% actual correction factor. My limits were set too tight for this map, and how I made it through the last, because this is the tune-up I ran at that last event where I made 3 passes on it. All I can think is that because that was 8th mile racing, I would have only been probably 3rd. I might have hit 4th gear. I don't know. We'll go back. We'll say 5 seconds into the run. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I would have maybe been in 4th gear or something. But say this was an 8th mile pass, it was maintaining that target air fuel, 4.5 into 5 seconds into the run, roughly where this bike runs. For 8th mile, 4.5 to 5, we'll say. That O2 wasn't wandering off. So if it didn't wander off last night until after that, it likely wasn't wandering off on that first event this year in those 3 passes I made. So we were safe. But I believe this map is going to need some work for this motor combo now. So it's wanting more fuel. So what actually had happened is, if we go back to my map here, is we'll go into our fuel area. So O2 closed loop over here. We're going to go to control limits. So this is how I had the limits set up last night. So that's why right now these limits are actually as I ran them last night. This is why it was kind of screwed up at the big end. So as you can see, it's got map PSI across the top. So from, you know, say 14 inches of vacuum to 0, we're in idle. So I give it a 50% allowance to add or remove 50% fuel. That's this window right here at idle. I don't really care too much about what it actually idles at for an air fuel ratio. That's why I give it a little bit of leeway. Idle air fuel is kind of irrelevant. You just kind of got to give it what it wants. You try too hard to maintain a certain number and you might just not have a happy motor. So I have a target, I have a target air fuel in mind that I want it to try to, be around, but I'm giving it 50% correction either way for it to kind of, find out where it wants to be. Because like say I'm targeting, I'm going off on a tangent here. Say I just want to target at idle roughly 4.8, but the way the bike is running, or that part of the map is, it's jumping around a lot because the idle, it doesn't, it idles a little bit of a chop. That 50% correction will let it add or remove a bunch of fuel either way to kind of maintain that 4.8 roughly. I've tried making the bike idle a little leaner, a little fatter. Like I said, it's just not happy. So you just got to find whatever number it's happy at. It could be 3.5. You just don't know. So just don't think you need a certain number you have to shoot for. Find where it's happy, and there's your target. But this is now down track. I had 25% correction going down track at the higher boost levels. And on this tune-up last year, that was fine because this bike would run, like I said, roughly only 7% correction, give or take 710, we'll say. So by having 25%, I was letting it work a little bit, but I just kind of gave it a window so that it wasn't, doing nothing goofy. And this tune-up on this motor combo now, it didn't like that because I had it restricted to only allow it to add 25% fuel. It didn't like that at this point in the run. It maxed it out 25%, and it would only maintain a 5.5 to 6.0 air fuel. It couldn't add enough. Now, if I had it at 50%, which is what I changed it to, if I had that at 50%, it might have allowed the ECU to correct enough to maintain my target air fuel. But that's why the bike was nosing over, and why I basically lifted to a 790 pass. So that's kind of the breakdown on the first pass. Like I said, I missed this. I didn't make any corrections on this till about the third or fourth pass. So what we'll do is now we'll get into my second pass. I don't want to save that right now. And my second pass is where I started to play with my number 2 tune-up. So we'll go open that quick. So this is now where I've already made that 50% correction. I just gave it a bigger window down track to let it try to find its happy spot where it was adding enough fuel. Because if I figure out how much it's actually adding, at what part of the map it's adding, by giving that bigger window to work in, that allows me to go into the map and actually correct it. Instead of it being capped at 25%, well, it might have wanted to add 30. So we'll give it that bigger window to work, and we'll see where it maxes out at how much it's actually correcting to maintain that target air fuel. But this was the correction. I made this correction after about the third or fourth pass, or whatever it was. So this again, alcohol, time-based features are active. My number 2 tune-up, medium power. And what that means is for medium power, on the 2-step, I'm targeting 9 PSI. That's not 9 PSI map. It's 9, or not, I shouldn't say, it's not 9 pounds like of boost. That's 9 PSI on the dome. So sometimes 9 PSI, depending on if the air is good, whatever, the bike might make a lot of boost. 9 pounds on the dome might get you 9 pounds at the hit. Last night was kind of muggy and pretty shitty out. That 9 pounds, we'll go look at the data log now. It's 9 pounds on the dome. I'll show you exactly what that got me at the leave. So we got second pass on 8.5 right here. So here we go. Second pass, tune number 2 with launch retard off now, 8.5.22. So this pass, again, kind of a shit show because that time-based launch was still active, or that timing retard at the launch was still active. But now we'll see what I leave at for boost with only 9 pounds on the dome. It was actually leaving at right here at this point. So 9 pounds on the dome was just about 6 psi, just under 6 psi. So that's how bad the air was last night. It didn't want to make a bunch of boost. It needed more help to make boost, I should say. And then this pass I turned off. So this pass, I'm talking fast again. This tune has more power in it, and I turned off that launch retard function that was my band-aid from last year. That was off on this, and you can see here it knocked the tire off pretty hard. Like the traction control, nothing was going to save this thing. So in this pass, the launch retard was off, and I also went 2 clicks softer on the compression, and you can watch how fast the tail drops, and it pretty much just it doesn't put any power or any of the suspension energy into the tire. At that point, it just knocks it off. And to be honest with you, my traction control isn't even active until I have to look. I think it was like 2.5 seconds into the run. The first part of the run for my bike is usually always, it's controlled by time-based timing. And this one just happened to also have that timing retard active. So with that launch retard disabled, and extra power, it freaking hit the tire and knocked it off. So that was, I'm going the wrong way with my time slips here. That was pass number 2. So you can see how that 60 foot, let's bring it in here, 60 foot, it went 1.6. Look at that light though, huh? But yeah, 1.6, 60 foot, 3.7, 530. You can see 156, I was out of the throttle. It wasn't happy, and I'll show you again if you look down here. I still did not catch this yet, and I don't know why. I was trying to figure out why the bike was nosing over, and it just didn't feel good. This time it was about, well, time's going to be irrelevant because of how much I got out of the throttle and back into it, took off the pass. But at roughly between 2.5 and 3 seconds is right where my air fuel just started wandering off lean again. And by the time I had lifted, I was short shifting and everything, trying to just get it down track. By the time I lifted, it was at 6.3 AFR, targeting 4.3. So things are starting to get kind of out of whack. And even though the front half, not necessarily this pass, but the front half of the passes were getting better, this AFR problem and the bike just not making any power, on top of it being hot and humid, and it not making a boatload of boost at the hit. Yeah, this is only 17 pounds, 18 pounds. So this medium power map only made 2 psi more than my low power map. That's not acceptable, but that's what we had to work with. And this is where getting data is awesome. And last night was exactly what I needed to get this stuff figured out. These data logs are as they came out of the bike, and I haven't even adjusted the maps themselves yet. I just wanted the data, and I was going to sit inside in the AC and make corrections today. But yeah, I'll show you one more time. 8:08, August 5th. So it was Friday night. It was the pass. Again, nothing spectacular. Just we're learning and getting data. And if you think you learned it all and you got it all figured out, you're wrong. There's always something to change or something to correct. But that, oops. So that's the second pass, and that's basically my tune-up. I will go into the time-based features quick and show you, because this map is the one that I run the majority of the time. If the track is, if we're at a no prep and the track is starting to get really good, this is probably the map that I'll cap it out at, because like I said, it'll, if the weather's good, it'll make closer to You know, 9 on the dome would get me closer to, you know, 7.5 psi actually than the 6 that this made. And then I also have down here, I got 5.5 pounds on the scramble button. So sometimes it's fine to just leave the tune alone, and if the track takes it, we'll just change how much, you know, how much power we put on the button. That way I know if, you know, if I put too much power in initially just in the base map, and it knocks the tire off, there's nothing I can do. But if I start with low power, get the bike to leave, and then just add a bunch on the button, if it takes it, you know, there's my, you know, it's basically like leave on that map, go to this map. So it's like having 2-in-1 if you got the scramble button set up right. But I would prefer to rather add power if the track's going to take it than to have too much power and not be able to do anything about it. If it spins a tire or something. And then I'll show you how I do my actual boost ramp here. So here's the boost ramp. So this is time after two-step. So as you can see, I don't put all the boost in until about 2.5 seconds in. And again, this is kind of like, this is no prep type of stuff. You got to be honest with yourself of what you're going to do with the bike. We don't do a lot of high prep, you know, XDA type stuff. It's not there. This is no prep to average prep. I got to get down the track kind of tuning. This is where my mind is. So this is how, like, so I got about, you know, 8.6. So we'll just say 8.5 pounds I'm leaving on. Now this is actual map target. So this is actually boost target now. To about, we got 8.6, 8.8 to about 1.2 seconds. So what I'm doing with this flat spot here is this is getting me through the 60. This is what I was saying about in my clutch video. I'm like, you have to make the clutch happy. You got to make the chassis happy and make the clutch happy. So this, if you leave with enough power, you can move this around, add power, remove power. That's kind of most of the difference between my high power map and my low power map, is how much power I'm leaving on and how I'm bringing it in. And this is what basically gets the bike to squat and plant and hunker down through the 60. Get through the 60, make my shift, start adding power. This is where I make the shift, right in here. I make the shift in the second gear, and then boom, we got all the power we need. And if I'm on the scramble button, I'll do the same thing. I'll get through the 60, I'll hit the scramble, then this ramp jumps up to here. And now we're just putting more power in quicker. And hopefully we're getting past the shift and not upsetting the tire. So this is just kind of, you know, this is my theories of what's been working to getting down the track. And a lot of people have been complaining lately about our local track. They're using the new traction compound. It's a green surface still. This is the first year with all new surface. Like, there's been a lot of complaints about people can't get down the track. You're not putting in the work. You gotta know a little something about shocks, tires, clutches. You know, it's not just the track. It can't be the track all the time. You got to find a way to make it work. And this is what I've been working on. And this isn't the only answer. This isn't the only way to do anything. This is just what's been working for me, because this is all I do, is this type of racing. If I was to ever go to something that was an XDA type track, and I'm only saying the XDA is because they're known for having just awesome track prep. So that's just my reference. Everybody knows that organization. But if I was to ever run something with that level of prep, I don't think I'd be too far into left field, because I just kind of understand. I've been running this bike for so long now. I can understand what it wants for power and what it'll take to make something work. But yeah, kind of giving you the rundown on these tune-ups on this thing. So that was second pass. So now my third pass, we made a, I'm sorry, I take that back. The second pass, I made a shock change from between the first and second pass. So first pass was not a lot of good data as far as on the launch, because it was so soft, but it looked like I could maybe speed the shock up a little bit. So I went back to the pits before the second pass, and I took 2 clicks of compression out of it. And what that did was it hit the tire. I think that's why it spun, honestly, is it compressed so fast it hit the tire, and it bounced. And the rebound was a little bit fast too. So in the video, if you look, I'll try to slow it down. You can almost see it it squats and kind of does a little bounce, and then heads out, knocks the tire off. So for the third pass, we got Where's my time? Time. 8:42. Okay, here's my third pass. So for the third pass, I went back the other way. So it knocked the tire off on the second pass. We left this map alone. I didn't change nothing, other than I was still fighting that lean situation. So I'm actually going to bring up the data log for pass number 3. So this was pass 2. Let's open data log 3. Third pass, second with 2 and 2. There it is. So here we got third pass, 2 and 2, launch retard off and traction control off. So now we're going to get out of the traction control because I thought at the end of my run, I thought the nosing over and a little bit of breaking ups, like the goofiness I was hearing, I thought it was getting into traction control until I looked at the data log and I saw the traction control wasn't doing anything down track. It was so down on power, it wasn't even spinning the tire. So this is my third pass. And again, I had a little dip in throttle here because I honestly, that was me being an idiot. It actually hooked hard enough right at the hit that I was anticipating tire spin, and I just got out of the throttle for a second and got back in it. But this is third pass data log, third pass time slip. So we're still working on it. 60 foot is still awful because at this point that launch, now I got to think now. I might be making a liar out of myself. No, at this point the launch retard that I was using last year, that Band-Aid thing, that was not active on this. This was just trying to get it to leave on boost. Let's see what we left at actually. So this time we left at, yeah, it was only 6 psi again. So we're still leaving on low power. It's not pulling through the 60 as hard as it could. And you'll see it in these videos. You can tell it's sticking the tire, but it's lugging it down. I should have been adding more power. It would have taken more power. But like I said, I was dealing with an issue more so with how the bike was running down track. It wasn't good, and I didn't want to use power to fix it. I kept having to kind of get out of these passes. I was short shifting and then just chopping it early. And you can see, like I said, on this slip, everything is kind of just blah. Oops, my bad. It's going down track, but we got a power issue. And like I said, it's down, 13. It's down about 16 miles an hour in the eighth. And it's down, not quite, 71, 81, about 17 to 18 miles an hour from its best. This is my best. There's no scramble buttons on these passes either. So, yeah, it's just down everywhere. So not a great pass. But, like I said, last night I wasn't looking to set the world on fire. This is the data I needed. I need to know how this bike is actually acting with this new motor. And we're sort of coming into our own with that shock. And like I said, this pass, after making that shock adjustment, it frickin' worked. It wasn't perfect. I still need to slow down. Actually, I want to make a change in the garage here. I still need to slow down the compression and the rebound slightly, but it's working really good.
Here's the third pass. You can see the shock was actually working better, but still has room for improvement. But you can still hear how the first gear kind of drags out, and then after that, it was just kind of an aborted pass down track.
But as you can see on this pass, my third pass, I still haven't addressed why my target air fuel is here. I still haven't addressed why it's straight up going lean. And you can see how the RPMs, just as I was shifting, they're just dropping lower and lower. And I tried running it out to 11,000 RPM there, and it just didn't want it. But at this point in this pass, we are at 6.2 AFR. It was fucking lean and making no power. Like, sometimes they say lean is mean, but if you take all the fuel away, the fucking motor doesn't run. So it just wasn't correcting, and I still hadn't caught that yet. I was being an idiot. I don't always have all of this stuff turned on. I look at certain things real quick because the bike was running so good last year before my issue. I stopped looking at some things in between rounds because I knew where my critical stuff was. Everything else just kind of always fell in line. And this was totally me brain farting, starting the year, just being out of the rhythm, not looking at the critical things with the fresh motor. And I probably got lucky last night that I didn't hurt something, but thankfully this freaking ECU tells me stuff. So that's third pass, and I'll show you in the video. The pass actually, it looks like the bike leaves pretty good. It wasn't a total throwaway deal, other than I was like I said, I was short shift and it was down on power, so it just kind of was an abortion of a pass. Sorry if that offended anybody. I'm not gonna leave any of these open right now. So now we get to our fourth pass, and this pass actually started out good, and then it went to shit because same sort of ordeal going on with the air fuel. And this was the pass, I think, is when I finally discovered what was wrong. And I'm going to open up actually the data log from this pass first. So this will be pass number 4. So fourth pass 2 and 2 with launch retard off, no traction control, and scramble test. So this is where I hit the scramble button to see what it was going to do, and that's this right here. At 6.5 seconds into the run, I hit the scramble for just a second to see what it would do. Look at the big, right here, the big fucking lean spike. I hit the scramble button and the bike nosed over like it shut off. And look at the RPMs up here. It's straight flat. It went to, when I hit the scramble for a second, it went to 7.8 AFR. It just about stopped running. Not cool. And this is the time slip from that pass. So we're at 9/16, August 5th. So this was a little better. I mean, this is still kind of just blah average type stuff, but that ET is down, that mile an hour is down. 330 it's been better, but that's not terrible. 60 foot for what we were doing last night isn't terrible. But that mile an hour, you can see that's, you know, I lifted and coasted it out. And you know, like I said, we needed data last night, and we had to figure out what this bike wants. So between these 5 passes I got, we're gonna get her working. So that, yeah, I'll put the video up for that 4th pass.
So the bike leaves pretty clean on this pass. We didn't make any more shock adjustments with it. We're mostly working on figuring out why it was breaking up or why it was going lean down track. You can hear it in this video. It seems pretty good through first, second, and into third gear. You'll hear it down track as it starts breaking up, and that's when I knew we needed to correct something.
But what you're going to notice on all of my passes is just how the bike is leaving. It's not real violent. It just kind of squats and goes, and then you can hear it. It's not trying to knock the tire off in the first 60 feet. It's applying power, but it's hooked up and moving, and that's all we need it to do on these type of like no prep, questionable prep type tracks. Gotta get the bike to move. If it just annihilates the tire at the hit because I thought it was going to be a hero and leave on 15 psi, we're not learning nothing. Anytime it knocks the tire off or it's spinning the tire, you're losing data. You can pick up bits, but you have to have passes. You have to get in down track to get data. All this stuff is going to get corrected, but the next time I go out, it'll be that much better. But to go, I mean, what was that pass? 774 was the best pass last night. To do that with all the problems I'm having, it's all these little things are adding up. None of it was clean. In fact, no, it wasn't this pass. There was one pass where actually I was late on a shift. I straight up drove it into the rev limiter. Shit happens. But, you know, it's neither here nor there. So let's go to the fifth and final pass for the night. I'll open that data log quick. Close this. And pass 5 last night. So we got fifth pass, 2 and 2 with launch retard off, no traction control, O2 correction fault was happening. And this is where I went back, and before this pass, I opened up the O2 window to 50% and it made it worse. It left good. You know, it left pretty good. Dropped RPM, you know, hung it down pretty far. But it got through the 60 was all I was trying to do. It got down track, and you can see I made my 1-2 shift, I short shifted it. So 1, 2, then from 2, first gear, second gear. So running through second actually was okay. Our air fuel was maintaining, and then right here I shifted into third, and whoop, everything's going lean. It just got worse. So I need to figure out what's going on there and make the adjustment. And I'm about 99% sure I just need to get into the map and fatten up that whole part of the map. I don't feel, this is where I'm going to kind of talk out loud, and I could be wrong, I don't feel that this is any kind of error reading, like a bad O2 sensor or something going on, because the bike is physically running bad. Like it's lean surging when it's doing this. So that O2 is picking up and showing me exactly what I'm feeling. So what I'm going to do is go into this area in the actual fuel part of the map, and I'm going to add a bunch of fuel to it, and then I'm going to open up the O2 corrections even more, and I need to get another full pass in to see where it's correcting, whether it's adding or removing. But it's blatantly obvious to me in how the bike is running, how it feels, and what it's showing me. It's lean. And that's where I'm going to add fuel, and we'll go from there. And I'll look at this data log, I'll overlay it into a fuel map and show me how much it's correcting, and that's where I'll make my adjustment. But this is another abortion of a pass where I just had to get out of it. You know, look at the mile an hour. Went 5.0 at 139. You know, 8.0 at 154. I just, you know, I don't know how else to explain it other than it just, you know, the bike doesn't respond or isn't happy with something. I got to lift. But for now, that's about all I can show you on the data logs. I got to actually sit down. I haven't gone through and made any of the adjustments yet because I didn't want to get myself into a wormhole of making 15 different corrections and not being able to go make a pass. So what I'll do is look at probably the last couple passes I made and just kind of make an educated, decision what changes I want to make, and then we'll get a baseline and we'll go from there, and we'll be back tested and do it again. But for now.
So this is the last pass of the night. One thing I thought was kind of neat to see was if you watch the footprint of the tire, you can see where I rolled up from the burnout, and then where I'm sitting and leave, watch how much the tire pattern and the track actually widens out, how the tire flattens out. It's kind of neat to see. But you can hear down track, this pass just sucked, and we had to get out of it.
But for now, how many of you would like to see, by a show of hands or a round of applause, how many of you would like to see how I'm controlling wheel speed down track with timing? Or I'm sorry, I said down track. At the hit. Using timing. It's technically not traction control. Traction control is working down track. It's a very, very crude way that I'm doing it, but it actually does work pretty good. But I will show you some cool stuff here. This is where I think people should start maximizing their Fueltechs here. And I 100% owe this to David Ligori. So send him some money and get him to teach you this. But you have to be willing to try things. There's no magic answer again. This is just like a clutch. This isn't going to save your ass. You need to figure out yourself what your magic numbers are going to be, what works and what doesn't. So what I'll do is we'll turn off the time-based, that doesn't need to be active, and we'll turn off the boost curve because we don't need to see that. Right here. Sorry, my bad. There. Now we're sitting here looking at these real simple little lines right here. And notice how they stop abruptly at about 3.2 seconds into the run. What this is I'm technically using a drive shaft curve. So some of you have maybe heard, like in the no prep world or something like the street outlaws guys, you hear them talk about riding the dots. Very similar, if not the same thing. A lot of them are using Fueltech anyways, but this is where I'm doing it. But I only do it for the first short part of the run, because after that I have a regular, like I said, a kind of a crude traction control that'll carry me out through the rest of the pass. And I also want to be able to turn the traction control off to let the bike really rip if the track is good. I want to let it really rip off the big end. But this first part of the run is what will get me through, usually the worst part of the track. And what we got here is basically a drive shaft curve off my front sprocket. So what I'm going to do is load a, let's see, we'll do, this was a 750 pass. We're going to load this. A bunch of shit just showed up. We don't need to look at it. I'm going to turn all that off. And we'll turn off duty cycle. Don't need to see that. What I'm going to turn on is drive shaft RPM. So what you're seeing here, this is basically off my front sprocket, my speedo sensor. This is my drive shaft curve. So that 750 pass, I believe that was a 480 eighth mile. And I got a high limit and a low limit set here. And these are just, I'll show you what those are. Those are actually timing compensations. So I set up a high limit and a low limit. And you will, the data logger, the ECU, you're getting a drive shaft curve every pass you make. And what I got here is a high limit. Those dots are my high limit. Those dots are my low limit. The low limit isn't as critical, but what happens is, because I have a good 480 eighth mile drive shaft curve, I set a high limit just above that, because the 480 is going to get down just about anything. And then the low limit, I give it a little bit of leeway. It's just not as relevant. But what'll happen now is if that wheel speed off my front sprocket sensor, and I'm going to air quote everything right now, if it spins the tire, obviously your front sprocket's going to spin faster. It'll read a higher curve. It's going to try to jump past that line. What's going to happen is, if it exceeds that line at any point, it will do this. Damn it, that one. As the time passes during the run, if it exceeds at any point this curve, it will pull timing and slow the tire down until it gets it back into that window. It'll put all the timing back into it. If we're in that window, we got full timing. If we're out of that window, at whatever point in the run, like say 1.5 seconds, it knocks the tire off, it'll pull 4 degrees. In theory, the farther out in the run you are, time-wise, the easier it should be to catch the tire, because you're already moving. As opposed to at a dead stop and you knock the tire off and you get back into it, odds are pretty good you're just going to knock the tire off again. But if you already got some forward momentum with the vehicle, the bike in our case, and it spins the tire, it should catch it with minimal amount of timing removed. It'll catch it and then put it back in, and you're already moving, so you're not hitting the tire again from a dead sit still. So that's what I'm doing at the hit on my bike. Is it doesn't do anything. If I don't exceed that curve, it doesn't do anything. It's not pulling any timing. I had that, like I said, I had that Band-Aid fix going on, so that no matter what, every pass, it was pulling 8 degrees at the hit. We took that out because we got our shock working good now, and we got everything's all cool there. I don't think I need to use that. However, that is another fix I can use if a track is super terrible. It's a quick throw that back in there, and I got power taken out of the hit. That way I can still leave on a certain amount of boost and have the boost there, because I can correct with timing faster than I can correct with boost. but this is what I'm doing. And as the bike gets faster, or if I want, I could have this whole duplicate map. Everything you saw from fuel to ignition to boost curve, I can have this identical map with another basically drive shaft RPM window, and I could move it up higher. Say we got a XDA type of track, and I really want to let the thing eat a little bit. I can move this all up, and now we could have basically a 460 drive shaft curve. So it's kind of a cool, I could make this, follow this all the way through the entire pass, but that's where you're going to end up basically restricting the bike. If the track is good, you really want to hit the scramble button or get more power down track, it would pull timing and restrict you to stay within your window for your technically 480 pass. So I definitely suggest you get into playing around with this stuff, and I'm going to give you just a quick, like if you got a Fueltech, take notes right now. It says in time-based drive shaft RPM, speed, advanced retard A and B, and time-based drive shaft RPM, speed, advanced retard, timing high and timing low. These are the 4 you're going to work with. And I'll explain real quick what each one is. And if you want to try to set up your own little thing and go test, this is how you're going to do it. So RPM, speed, advanced retard A. That is your high limit. What you need to do is go up here and bring in a data log from a clean pass and open up your drive shaft, or turn everything off and highlight your drive shaft RPM so you can see where you're making your plot. So that first thing you're selecting here is your high limit. Next thing down, here's your low limit. This is where you can set up a low limit here, so that if it was to ever drop below that, you could, if you wanted to, add timing to try to speed the motor up or speed the bike up to try to get it back in that curve or into your window. Do what you want. I am not a fan of adding timing for any reason, especially if the motor slowed down. You don't want to throw timing at it under boost with a load to try to speed it back up. I'm not going to do it. So that is zeroed on mine. That's what this is. Your third selection here, time-based drive shaft RPM, speed, advanced retard, timing high. All zeros all the way down. If it drops below that line, it will not add timing. That's just 0. Your critical adjustment, this is where you're going to be the moneymaker. Time-based drive shaft RPM, speed, advanced retard, timing low. This is the timing it's going to pull if it's exceeds your drive shaft curve plot. Like I said, mine's 12 degrees, 10 degrees, 8 degrees. As it gets farther out in the pass, it pulls less timing. And actually it's pulling 4 degrees at 1.5. At 2 seconds out, it's already not pulling anything. So I could add a couple more degrees there if it's spinning out a little farther, or I'm sorry, if it's trying to control it out a little farther, I could add a few more degrees there or something. But this is just a real crude rundown, so if you see the stuff and you're not sure what does what, that's just the real quick reference to let you know what this is. But I highly suggest you go out on a shitty track, take your drive shaft curve you got saved from a good pass. Hopefully you're saving some data logs, and not like me and you just delete them when you're doing other stuff. But hopefully you got a good drive shaft curve you can put in here, set up a little high-low limit, set up how you want to pull your timing, and you'll have to figure it out, because if you got this set up to pull timing, and say you go make a pass and it knocks the tire off and it never comes back, you're not pulling enough timing. So you gotta pull enough to have it catch it, but not pull so much that it doesn't let the thing run out, because little wheel spin is okay, but you just got to figure out what's going to work for your bike. So that, my friends, is a fun Friday night at the racetrack, looking at data. So what we'll do is close this. Let's go back in here. So, yeah, if you guys got any other questions on kind of how I'm doing some of my tune stuff, I'm not an expert by any means, but I can kind of explain to you just kind of why or how I do certain things. I try to keep it simple. Like there's wheelie control stuff you can set up, cut table, angle compensation table. Stuff's not real hard to understand once somebody just kind of gives you the Cliff Notes version and breaks it down. So I know this video is going to be a lot of Fueltech stuff, but that's what I run. It's what works. It's super simple to be self-sufficient, and you're not tied to, you know, having to be on the phone with a tuner that, you know, really is only interested in helping pro guys or something. There's a lot of other ECUs out there that give you good tech support, but I don't think anything is going to meet up with the Fueltech quality of stuff as far as service and ease of use. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and then I'm going to go sit in the AC and make some changes. Well, jerks, that's enough for this one. I was going to do some fabrication stuff. I started a little project. It went down south in a hurry. I got to regroup and figure out what I want to change, and then we'll get back to that one. But for now, I hope this video was interesting. It's going to be long and super techy, and some of it might not make sense, and I wish I had better video, but I'm trying to get you guys interested in doing this stuff and learning how to, you know, fuck with your stuff and go faster and get out and test. And yeah, I'll try to do a next test session out. Hopefully I'll actually have some better video. I'll do some more track talking and whatever. I'll be that awkward guy walking around with a selfie stick and, welcome back to the channel. But you get it. We're all here to have some fun and learn some shit. So thanks for watching. Any questions, like I said, just, you know, reach out. I'll try to help you if I can. If it's something I don't really know about, I won't pretend I do. I'm not from Illinois, I don't do that. See you later.